Good evening. Welcome to Southeastern 16, presented by FanDuel. Chris Lee, joined by Jay Greeson. We're here to watch the first college football rankings. We'll react to them live. We'll give you a little bit of our thoughts ahead of time. Before we get there, a reminder, we're brought to you by our friends at GameTime SIDEKICKS, which makes these outstanding drink glasses. That's a horrible term. Tumblers, that's what I'm looking for. The college football playoff, man, it's just got my head all jumbled. Anyway, they are officially licensed stainless steel drinkware, all SEC schools, 350 other universities, stainless steel sippy cups, tumblers, 40-ounce bottles, and shaker cups. SC16 gets you 20% off your entire order at GameTimeSidekicks.com. Jay Greeson, welcome in. What are you watching for tonight as the committee makes its initial top 25 ranking?
I think big picture, especially as it applies to the SEC, you look at where Notre Dame is because they have a very doable schedule winning out. And if Notre Dame's already in the top 12 and even higher than that, then that they're going to be, look, the top 12, while we're all interested and all intrigued about who's going to be where, they don't do these rankings without the mandatory inclusions that they're going to have to do in the seeding.
Yeah.
So Georgia Tech's lost to NC State may have them out of the top 12, but Georgia Tech could very well win the ACC, which gets them back into the top 12. I mean, the positioning of this one is intriguing as all hell because it's the first one, and it's the first one that's mattered.
Yeah,
but
that's kind of that's kind of a stupid way to do it. Just rank the teams and then say, all right, so and so gets an auto bid. We would have had them 25 if we ranked them. But anyway, carry on.
Hopefully they'll have that conversation, and maybe they will in the breakdown because for a lot of conferences outside the Power Four, and I call it the Power Four now, you're going to look to see, is Memphis the highest ranked team? That is more important than who is won between Ohio State and Indiana.
Or A&M.
Or A&M. I don't think it'll be A&M. I
don't either, but resume-wise, they may be the best. Anyway.
Well, Indiana may have the best win in the country. Going to Oregon and winning is, I mean, if I was in that committee room, I would vote Indiana. If we're taking the names off the resume and just looking at the resume, Indiana's resume is better than Ohio State's.
Well, I've got resume stuff scored. I've kind of come up with a quad system that's like the net for basketball.
All right, hold on. Breaking news.
Yeah.
Chris has come up with a metric to try to grade how this is going to break down.
Yeah.
I mean, I know. I just got to lean back and.
Well, top 25 wins. I have Ohio State with 2 quad 1A wins, if you want to put it, which is top like 12 or 13. And then top 25 wins, Ohio State's 4-0 against the power ranked top 25. That's adjusted for before you played them. But I kind of did that. I came up with the metric that ranked them according to quality, which is kind of your power rank. How tough are you? And then what's your strength? What's your resume based on points for games you win or don't? This is the top 25 it spit out. Okay. Ohio State in this order, Indiana at 2, Texas A&M, Alabama, Oregon at 5, followed by Georgia, Ole Miss, BYU, Texas Tech, Notre Dame at 10. Not sure I agree with that, but that's what it spit out. Starting with 11, Texas, Utah, Oklahoma, Miami, Southern Cal at 15, 16 to 20, Michigan, Louisville, Vandy, Georgia Tech, Virginia, and then rounding out your top 25, LSU, Missouri, Tennessee, Washington, Illinois. Now, if you did it just based on resume would be different, but I just weighted them both equally, saw what it spit out. There it was. I think and one reason I did it, I think it'll tell me something about what the committee values.
Well, I mean, we can only project what the committee values because they can say whatever they want, but until until they let somebody in, no one should trust what they say that they value at this point, in my opinion. I mean,
I totally agree. Tonight the committee will tell us, whether intentionally or not, what it is going to value. And I think there will be, probably the way this happens, there'll be some things that are glaring, like, how in the world did they come up with that? And that's where I start really pay attention, because it tells me a lot about what they're thinking. Now, they may tell you what they're thinking. It may be accurate. It may not be accurate. But the selections kind of tell on themselves.
They do. And one of the reasons why I think it would be frisky for this committee to put Indiana 1 is because they're not – the biggest knock for a whole lot of schools and fan bases out there is they're going to kowtow or to the networks, to the folks who want Ohio State, Alabama, Notre Dame.
Yeah.
They want the teams that are going to draw eyeballs in this bracket. So this is the opportunity to have an outlier overranked, because and the positioning of this matters, because if you're somebody like Ole Miss and you're inside the top 8, whether you get to Atlanta or not, all you got to do is win out. This is the night that lays the blueprint, and coaches are going to get into their locker room and speak, here's what we got to do. Beyond just winning, we've got to either win big, or we just got to handle our business of the teams ranked in the top 15 or 18.
Notre Dame, to me, is super intriguing. I think Notre Dame might be a top 5 team in the country. It's lost its 2 really tough games, both of them one score, one on the road, one in the last minute at home. Who it's beaten so far, I mean, win over Southern Cal is pretty good. They could get a win over Pitt, which would be interesting. That would help. But I think where Notre Dame is ranked initially is going to tell me a lot. I think also really looking to see what they do with Georgia Tech and Virginia. I don't know that those are top 20 teams. I would almost guarantee you Virginia will be, by virtue of being unbeaten. I don't think Virginia's resume is terribly impressive. I mean, I say it's not bad. It's probably better than I'm giving it credit for being. Virginia has beaten I think they're the only team to beat Louisville. Is that correct?
Sounds right.
And their one loss is NC State. Did beat Florida State.
Conference game, and that's important.
Oh, right.
I mean, that was a game that both teams needed to schedule, but they scheduled it as a non-conference game the third week of the season. So it is, I mean, Virginia's got a great path to the ACC championship game.
Yeah. Duke on the road will be their toughest remaining game. The other thing I'm kind of interested in is BYU. I think BYU is kind of getting a little bit underrated. It's beaten a nice schedule of teams. Not elite, but nice. I mean, got to win over Utah, which is probably a playoff caliber team. BYU, people kind of hate on BYU for various reasons, but I think that's a solid team. Now, the Texas Tech game this weekend will have a lot to say about BYU's future, and probably Texas Tech. I still don't understand how Texas Tech lost that Arizona game, but it did. And frankly, wasn't as close as it ended up being for most of the day. Tech had to scramble furiously to get that one back. But I think Texas is going to be interesting in the SEC. What do you do with Texas? Texas has been kind of underwhelming, but you're going to look at big wins over Oklahoma on a neutral field, Vanderbilt at home, a loss to Ohio State up there, probably the toughest team in the toughest venue. You wouldn't think they would hold that against them too much, given it was close. Texas is a team I'm very interested to see where they put. And of course, Texas got that loss to Florida too, which isn't great. So you got some mixed things on Texas's resume, including some games Texas won against Mississippi State and Kentucky that were not very impressive in terms of style points.
Well, the conversation before this year was always about game control. And Texas has had very little game control.
Until
they were
last
lucky
week
to get out of Kentucky. They were damn lucky to get out of Starkville. So, look, I don't think a 3-loss Texas, even with the brand and even with the face of college football, whether he's overwhelmed your expectations or underwhelmed them, Paul Feinbaum, even with Arch Manning, a 3-loss Texas team can't get in.
See, that's what I'm really curious about in the end.
Look around the country, though. I mean, look around.
It happened to Alabama last year. I get it. It did, but
in Alabama, that Alabama team was better than this Texas team.
Yes, agreed. And Alabama should have been in a year ago, I believe, over SMU, but that's not how it went. I think Oklahoma's another interesting one too. Oklahoma's got some really good wins so far, and like to tell Oklahoma you got to run the table to get in. With good wins banked already over, let's say they beat Michigan, which is a nice win. Beat Auburn, nice win. I mean,
yeah, I think Auburn. I think the committee should realize that Hugh Freeze was the cancer that had to be removed. I think Auburn should be 14th.
We'll see if that comes up.
That is a joke.
I mean, lost to Ole Miss. Lost to Texas on a neutral field, both after the Mateer injury, went and won at Tennessee. Like, if you're Oklahoma, you go 2-1 down the stretch. You've beaten 2 of either Alabama, Missouri, or LSU. That's pretty good.
We're about to see a whole lot of cannibalization across the SEC because these are going to be wins that every win's important, and that's forever been true in college football. But Oklahoma now needs Texas to lose because if they both finish 10-2, Texas has the tiebreaker.
Yeah.
Then you're talking about Oklahoma against a Missouri resume, or never mind, you get the opportunity to hand somebody a third loss. I mean, I think this one is almost meaningless because of what November holds, but I think it is magnified for conferences wanting to get multiple bids, the group of 6 schools who are now jockeying for one spot, and the most interesting name on the board is Notre Dame.
Yeah. Notre Dame left, let's see, again, a win banked against Southern Cal. That's a good win. Pitt would be a nice win on the road. Pitt is really playing well lately.
Yes.
That won't be easy. Top 25 type team. I don't know if they're in the rankings. Winning at Stanford doesn't mean much. Beating Syracuse in your yard doesn't mean much. Beating Navy, that's a tricky matchup, but they're not. Navy has got a great record against a pitiful schedule. Don't mean to disrespect Navy, but in football terms, that's what it is. I mean, and then you've got, other than that, I mean, they beat NC State okay, beat Boise State okay. Yeah, I mean, just not a lot there in terms of big wins. But again, the losses were to playoff caliber teams. Well, one was, and then Miami, whatever Miami is, on the road. All right, let's see if we got.
Sam says you hate the troops.
Sam, buddy, you're on to me. What can I say?
That Chris Lee, he's a communist.
Troop hater. He's a troop hater. Oh boy.
Hey, what
teasing us with brackets without names in there. Come on.
Well, TV's behind me, so
yeah.
Let me speechify for a moment as the names start trickling out. I'm going to start with the mea culpa.
Okay.
I thought going from 4 to 12 would devalue the regular season, and I was adamant about it. I wrote about it in the Times Free Press, and I think I was wrong.
Yeah. Okay, hang on. Remember I had Tennessee in my top 25? They're there at 25. Pitt's 24. I had Pitt a little bit behind that. And by the way, I think the 12-team playoff is one of the greatest things that's ever happened to the sport, maybe the best. I think the system they have it now that they've tweaked the seeding is darn near perfect. Yeah, Pitt at 7-2. I think that's very defensible. Washington at 23, defensible.
I don't know how good Washington is.
Missouri at 22, defensible.
Maybe a little low.
I could argue that. I mean, it's defensible to have them in for sure. I think it might be a little bit low. Missouri's problem is it just doesn't have a lot of good wins yet, but opportunity is coming for that.
And look, man, every committee we've ever seen, going back to Kenyon Martin, when you have they're going to the committee, I can understand them dropping them, saying, "Let me see how the backup, the at one time third string quarterback operates this offense with Bo Pribula on the sideline."
Okay, Michigan at 21, a couple of spots ahead of Washington, which it beat head-to-head. That's Michigan's best win. Some good losses there. All right, 20 is Iowa.
See if you're an Oklahoma.
Oh, that's Iowa's. I think Iowa's. That's going to be based on perceived strength of team because Iowa hasn't done much in terms of the resume.
Iowa sucks. The best thing about Iowa is the corn, Field of Dreams, and the way they waved to the Children's Hospital to start the fourth quarter.
Buddy, if they beat Oregon this weekend, you're in for it.
Well, I'm going to wave to the Children's Hospital every single week. I'm not like Chris Lee. I don't hate the troops and I don't hate sick kids.
So we said I hate troops and sick kids now. That's where we're going to go.
Okay, there we are. Chris Lee loves analytics and he hates the troops and the sick kids.
And dogs too, probably.
No, hell no. You put up with a ton of crap from Oreo. There's no way you hate dogs.
Buddy, I defend that guy to no end. That's true. All the sarcasm aside. All right, Southern Cal at 19. I get it. I'm very interested to see where Miami lands here. Okay, Miami lands at 18, just as I say that.
Too high.
And I think
3-loss team, right?
Yeah, but there's a lot of 2-loss teams. They've beaten Notre Dame, lost to Louisville, lost at SMU.
Is that the highest ranked 3-loss team?
Beat Florida State, beat Florida. I mean, those are nice wins. Beat South Florida.
Boom.
Hey, look, you start stacking these up and seeing who's got. It's not like teams are just dripping with quality wins. Trust me.
See, all right. How is
Georgia Tech at 17? I think is too high.
Georgia Tech?
Yeah,
I think that's too low.
Okay.
The 3-loss parallel is Miami the highest ranked 3-loss team?
Vanderbilt at 16. Miami's only got 2 losses. No, wait, you're right. I forgot about that. Lost to Louisville.
I hate it when I'm right.
Wait a minute. I only remember 2. Lost to Louisville, lost to SMU. So there's just 2. Okay, Louisville at 15. I'm okay with that. Virginia at 14. I'm not okay with that.
That's too high.
I don't think they're that good. But hey, if you're the ACC, good for you. You got Georgia Tech and Virginia higher than I think they should be. So I think dash to the right of number has got some value here.
Well,
we haven't seen Oklahoma, Texas. Okay, Utah 13. I'm okay with that. We haven't seen Notre Dame yet. Okay, Notre Dame's going to get in the playoff.
Yes.
I think we're about to figure that out because we haven't seen them yet, and the top 12 is coming.
Because you're also about to have a whole lot of overlap. We've got at least 5 SEC teams that haven't been announced yet.
Yeah, Texas, Oklahoma, I would think will be coming off the board soon.
You got 6. Texas, Oklahoma, Ole Miss, Georgia, Alabama, and A&M.
Yep. Those are all going to be top 10.
Yeah.
Probably top 8.
So, and the carnage will only allow Notre Dame, if they win out, ways to step forward on the lily pad.
Okay, here's Oklahoma at 12. So there's your path, Sooners. Okay, so Notre Dame's going to be 11 or higher, which means Notre Dame wins out. There's no way they're not making the playoff. I think we can establish that. And Texas at 11. Okay, so now they're really going to go in on Notre Dame, and they're not going to put them on the fringe. They're going to put them well in.
Hey, and Ryan Harrison just brought up a really good point that no G6 team was mentioned in the top 25.
Yeah. No, notice is they get these teams with like Virginia beat Louisville. I think that's what happened, right?
Sounds right.
Yeah. That, like, you've got a lot of these teams grouped together where the one in front beat the other. Virginia one spot ahead of Louisville, Texas one spot ahead of Oklahoma.
Well,
so that's going to be something to keep an eye on too.
The path is going to be tough for Miami of the first group because they've got their two losses are conference losses.
Yeah. And if you're grouping them with Notre Dame, then they've already provided Notre Dame's going to – well, no, wait, they would win that comparison because they beat them. So, but they put them far enough apart where that's not going to be an issue, which I'm guessing was strategic.
I completely agree.
So you don't have to deal with, oh, well, you got, 1, 2 behind the other, one beat the other. How do you do that? You just put them far enough apart where you don't have to deal with it. Which I can't totally blame them for that, but
well, I can't blame them for it, but I can make an argument against it.
Yeah,
because the games on the field have to matter.
I'm guessing BYU's 9, Ole Miss 8, Georgia 7. Actually, Oregon will probably be in here. Georgia will probably be higher. I bet you BYU or Oregon is coming next. Okay, there's Oregon, which really hasn't accomplished a lot in terms of who it's beaten so far, in terms of like teams that get your attention, but I think it's a good football team.
I don't know if they're a good football team.
I mean, they've been beating up on the soft underbelly of the Big Ten since that Indiana loss.
Yes.
The Penn State win had more value than is going to show at the end of the year. I mean, that was a legit win at the time at Penn State, and then Penn State just completely fell apart. And that's going to hurt them, I think.
Okay.
Fairly or unfairly?
No, and that's the best way to phrase it. I don't know. This is in some ways it feels like, did you ever play 52 card pickup?
No.
All right. It was a game that you would play at camp where somebody who didn't know how to play you'd say, okay, let's play 52 card pickup. You go first. You shuffle the deck 2 or 3 times and you throw all the cards in the air and say, okay, you're first, pick up all 52 cards. And I mean, it's a joke, but that's what this is right now after week 1. But this is the only one that matters because it now slots everybody in the path to get to the 12.
Okay, and okay, you've got BYU at 7, Texas Tech at 8. They play this week, and that might give the loser a little bit of latitude. We'll see. I think if you're the Big 12, you got to be thrilled with that. Ole Miss at 6, totally fine with that. I think that's about where Ole Miss. I'm betting Georgia is the next team at 5, which would be consistent with the way they've done it. Georgia beat Ole Miss head-to-head, 1 slot ahead. And then Alabama beat Georgia, so Alabama will be headed there. And then you're looking at probably A&M 3, and then Indiana, Ohio State. Ohio State, Indiana, A&M will be your top 3 in some order.
As well.
Okay, there it is. Georgia 5, Alabama 4. Be interested. Okay, A&M 3, Indiana, I bet will be 2, and Ohio State will be 1. So this nailed the top 6. No, this nailed the top, the top 8 in order, except for Oregon. Because I had it Ohio State, Indiana, A&M, Alabama, Oregon, Georgia, Ole Miss, BYU, Texas Tech, Notre Dame. Notre Dame got bumped up a little bit, but the thing I put together was pretty close to what they did. And again, they made their pivots when one team beat another head-to-head.
Well, you are smarter than the average bear, Yogi.
Well, I don't know, and I don't know that that's how I do it.
No, I would.
But yeah, the top four, they had the top four exactly the order that this spit out. So I think we've got yeah. I'm trying to think who got left out. Gosh, I think almost the whole top 25 was what I had here. Virginia was in there. Washington wasn't, or was it? It was close. Iowa was in there, right?
Sadly.
Iowa and Pitt were both in there. Okay, those were two at the bottom. Okay, so Virginia would be your so, okay, Memphis was not in the top 25, but they're saying Memphis would be their group of 5.
Okay. Which makes sense, but South Florida has an argument.
Yeah, but Memphis beat them head-to-head, and so
agreed.
That's what they did.
Agreed. Yeah. If you are the big part of the conversation here is the little things matter. And we're now about to get into a whole lot of elimination games. November is going to be filled with games that feel like playoff games, almost to the point that November will be more enjoyable than December if I had to make a argument about 12 teams being in the playoff, because there are going to be a whole lot of mismatches. I mean, look back at the rankings, Chris. Who was 5? If this bracket was true, and I know it's not because of conference champions and folks that are going to get, there's at least one spot outside of the top 12 that's going to get nullified, and actually at least 2 because there's no ACC team in the top 12. So at least, so now if you're in the top 10, you handle your business, you feel good about it. Because Notre Dame was what?
10? Yeah. They've given Notre Dame a path to playoff. They've possibly given the Big 12 a path to 2 spots. In the
BYU ACC, and who?
BYU and Texas Tech were 7 and 8. And let's see.
Which gets back to the conversation.
Okay. Yeah. Virginia at 14. And then what, Georgia Tech at 18 and Miami somewhere in there. I think this tells me the ACC is probably getting 1.
But if the Big 12 has 2 teams currently in the top 12 with outliers and fringe teams with much better profiles and much better out-of-conference wins and all of that conversation, it would be the best path to Mississippi, to the Big 12 getting multiple teams in this thing, is for one of those schools not to get in the conference championship game. And that's borderline mind-blowing, right?
I'm going to have to do some look at tiebreakers on that, because like BYU, well, I think what you want if you're the league.
Well, you got to have BYU run the table.
Well, no. See, I think you want Texas Tech to win Saturday if you want to get 2 teams in, because they've lost 1, BYU's lost none. And then let BYU run the table.
All right, if that happens Saturday and they both show up with 1 loss, there's going to be a plethora of teams that show up with 2 losses on that Sunday in December when they're picking the field. And the team that wins the Big 12 championship is going to be the easy choice, the automatic choice, in fact. So, look, The Big 12, look, it was a big win for Auburn at the time. Baylor ain't squat.
Yeah.
I mean,
okay. Carry on. I need to grab well, no, I'll be fine. A little worried about the computer battery, but I think I've got a few more minutes.
Well, I'm happy to carry on.
By the way, thank you, John McCollum, for joining the channel. Yeah, I'm going to grab a charger. I'll be right back.
All right. Well, we look at this, and I'm curious in the chat with you guys growing in numbers, what is the biggest surprise and what is the biggest change in the top 12 you would make? Because, look, there are a lot of opportunities, and you group that many SEC teams into the ranking, and they may very well deserve it. But they're now about to all play each other again. And the conversation now turns about if, let's see, Georgia is 5 and Ole Miss is 6 or 7. Don't they play in the next couple of weeks?
Georgia and Ole Miss, they already played. Georgia won. That's Ole Miss's only loss.
So, I mean, if you get a 2-loss Georgia and a 1-loss Ole Miss, and Alabama and Texas A&M go to Atlanta, who do you rank ahead of that?
Say that again.
All right. If Alabama and Texas A&M go to Atlanta,
okay,
and a bid to Atlanta means you're in,
right?
Either way, which is a whole different conversation about whether you should rest your injured starters, or, I mean, completely devaluing the conference championship game on a macro level. If Ole Miss finishes 11-1, which is completely doable with that schedule, but Georgia loses to Georgia Tech and finishes 10-2.
Yeah. And Ole Miss doesn't make the
Do you take
the title game?
Ole Miss, or an 11-1 Ole Miss, or a 10-2 Georgia?
You mean ahead in the pecking order, right?
Yes.
I would take Georgia just on the basis of better wins and head to head, but you know, that's ignoring the number to the right of the dash.
Okay. It is.
Okay. You know, I just thought of something. I wonder how you look in the conference championship means something, because, like, if a team just goes and lays down and rests starters in the championship, knowing it's in the playoff, do you see the committee penalize that team a couple of spots? I mean, here's the other thing: you are playing for that bye, right? So that is it's not a no consequence game. It's a chance to help or hurt your pecking.
The bye was done away with. They're now seeding them 1 through 4.
Oh, that's right. Well, wait a minute. No, I mean, 12-5 plays 4, right?
12-5 plays 4, but the
right. So the top 4 do get a bye.
The bye is not determined by conference champions anymore.
Right. But here's what I'm saying, Jay. Do you see a little thing to where the conferences are going to protect their interests? Because, like, if let's say Alabama goes to the conference championship game, I don't think this would ever happen, but just play along, okay? And they decide, you know, we're getting in the playoff, and we're going to rest Ty Simpson. We're going to rest our starting offensive line. In fact, everybody that's a first teamer is going to sit this thing out. That might be in your best interest for long-term survival. It is not in the network's best interest to watch those games, in the league's best interest. You follow?
No.
So do you, here's what I'm saying. What kind of disaster is it if you have teams, you know, laying down in the title games to rest? Is there a built-in penalty where you dock teams maybe a little further when you do? I'm not saying it'll be stated that way. I'm just I don't think you're hearing what I mean here, but
no, I hear what you mean, and I understand it, and it's been something that I've written about, that they're doing everything in their power to take out the teeth of the conference championship game in regards to being an automatic bid. Because hey, look at it this way. I don't think the SEC is the best example here. What happens if Julian Sayin and Jeremiah Smith roll ankles, not serious, but in the Michigan game, and then they're about to go play 12-0 Indiana.
No getting in, they might be a top 4 seed anyway. No, and I think in that case, I mean, you couldn't. It would look fishy if you did. If you put Ohio State at 6 for losing the game, but I get it. I mean, it does open up a fascinating
championship games. And you know what? I mean, if we're going, again, to phrase it in this way, if we're going macro, the NCAA doesn't care about that, because in 1984, the lawsuit that allowed conferences to negotiate their own TV deals, which really was 2 decades before the NIL decision with the O'Bannon case, that allowed the mushroom cloud of all this money being filtered to schools, players, coaches, everybody else. In the big sense of this, since 1984, the NCAA doesn't care about football marketing rights in the big picture, because they don't get any money out of it.
Okay. Well, that's true too. I hadn't thought of that, but 9-time champion. If Bama loses either LSU, Auburn, and A&M, in or out, a 2-loss Alabama is absolutely getting in.
Yes.
Or is he asking if you lose, if they go 1-3? I mean, 1-2 in those games. 3 losses, I wouldn't want to try it. 2, you're fine.
I don't foresee, with all the, as you said, the back end of the number on the dash, you're holding your breath if you're a 3-loss team.
Well, I will give them credit. I'm looking at it now. I'll put this in the chat so people can look. The Athletic has posted the top 25 with the records. And they did not do the thing where they did last year, where the number to the right of the dash grouped everybody. They were a little more creative this time. So I'll give them that. I don't really have a lot of huge issues with what they did. I mean, I could Notre Dame's a tough one, because you're trying to get the 12 best teams, or the 12 teams that have earned it, or some combination in between. And boy, opinions can differ on that one. But I'm going to go through, indulge me here for a minute, okay? I'm going to talk through what I think the implications are for each league. And then once I get to the end of that, I think I'll know where the SEC stands. Okay, ACC, you've got Virginia all the way down at 14, Louisville at 15. Again, Virginia beat Louisville head-to-head, one out there. Georgia Tech at 17, and Pitt at 24. Remaining games for Virginia are going to be Wake Forest at home, at Duke, Virginia Tech. Virginia is likely, the Duke game might be tricky on the road. And so I think Virginia's lost to NC State. I think Virginia and Georgia Tech are the 2 games in the driver's seat for the ACC right now, right?
Well, they're
both
also
got 1 loss.
The 2 teams in the driver's seat to get to the ACC championship game.
That's what I'm saying. Georgia Tech's got Boston College, Pitt at home, and then Georgia. I think the ACC, I mean, I guess Miami could be the wild card here, but Miami's not going to the conference championship game. I don't know if they've been eliminated, but it's highly improbable. And I mean, the games left: Syracuse at home, NC State at home, at Virginia Tech, at Pitt. I don't know. Maybe putting Pitt in your top 25 gives you an excuse if you want to elevate Miami. But this reads to me like the ACC is getting one team. Is that how you feel about it?
I completely
Okay.
agree. And what is staggering is that for the guys who count money, the Georgia Tech game may be the most important game in the next month because
Yep, for sure. That's your path if you're the ACC.
If whether the ACC, if Georgia Tech can beat Georgia and flex muscles over an SEC title contender, then I mean that is a unbelievably meaningful game beyond the rivalry now.
Okay. So we're looking at ACC is going to get one. Group of 5 is going to get one. So that's 2 bids accounted for. You've got the Big 12. I think maybe one of the biggest takeaways is I think they've laid the ground for the Big 12 to get 2, because you got Texas Tech at 8, BYU at 7, and Utah at 13. And there's been some of those teams playing each other already. So you can kind of excuse the losses because, hey, Utah, you lost to BYU, but, BYU's in the playoff today. Make sense?
No, it makes complete sense.
Okay.
I think the head-to-head conversation, when you get the triangle of A beat B, but B beat C, and C then beat A, is going to make this even more puzzling through the next month, if that makes sense, especially in the Big 12.
Okay, Utah's got at Baylor, Kansas State, at Kansas. Not a cakewalk, but they're going to be favored in all of them. So there's a path there for Utah. You've got BYU, got Texas Tech this weekend, then TCU at home, Cincinnati on the road. Cincinnati didn't make the top 25. That was a little bit interesting. And then Central Florida. So I think BYU could easily just have 1 loss or 0 losses going into the championship game. And then you've got Texas Tech, again, BYU this weekend, Central Florida at home, bye week at West Virginia. Yeah, hey, I think if you are the Big 12, what you're rooting for this weekend is Texas Tech to beat BYU this weekend. Both of them go 11-1 heading to the title game, and then BYU gets them on the return trip. You can say, hey, look, these teams split. We had them close. We put 2 in. I think the Big 12 is getting 2 teams in, and I don't think they're getting 3, but I wouldn't rule it out.
No, they're not getting 3.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, Utah is sitting there at 13.
They're not getting 3. Chris, they're not getting 3.
I don't think they are. I'm just keeping everything on the table, not ruling out something that's, I don't think they are, but I'm just saying where they've got them ranked, I don't think it's a 0% chance.
You and I have been doing this long enough that you need to quit bringing logic and reason into the conversation. They are not getting 3 because of.
Well, yeah, you're right. They're not, because the optics of the Big 12 getting 3 would be bananas.
Well, not only the optics, but are any of those teams better than if Georgia loses to Texas and we got to pick between Georgia and Texas? Are any of those 3 going to get a bid over Georgia and Texas?
I don't think so. I'll get there in a minute. So we're going to go official answer: 2 for the Big 12, 1 for ACC, 1 for good grief, 1 for a group of 5. So now we're looking at
Notre Dame. Count Notre Dame, because
I'm leaving Notre Dame out of it till the very end.
Okay,
for a reason. Okay, Ohio State and Indiana are getting in.
Yes.
Oregon I think Oregon or Iowa's getting in, probably not both. Looks to me like, well, I mean, hang on. You've got Iowa sitting there at 20, but lose to Oregon this weekend, you're done. You've got Southern Cal at 19. That's probably a little bit too low. Feels to me like 3 for the Big Ten.
I can see
We
that.
good? Okay.
Yeah, no, I can see that.
So we're talking 1 for Group of 5, 1 for the ACC, 2 for the Big 12. That's 4. 7 making the Big 10.
No, 3 from the Big 10 makes it 7.
Right. That's what I meant. Sorry. So
I know.
we're standing on 7, and that leaves 5 left for Notre Dame in the SEC. And they've already said Notre Dame's getting in more or less without a loss. So that means the SEC is going to be fighting for 4 bids.
Which makes November nuts.
Yeah. So to me, okay, A&M is in a great position. Ole Miss, I think you want to win out, not go to the title game. That's 2. And then Alabama, Georgia. Gosh,
Alabama,
one if not both.
Alabama, Georgia becomes a play-in game.
Well, Georgia, Texas becomes 1-2 maybe.
That's what I meant to say.
Yeah.
Alabama, Georgia, but I meant to say Texas, Georgia becomes a play-in game.
Yeah. Well, and here's now Oklahoma is the could be the fly in the ointment here. Let's say Alabama wins out except for Oklahoma, which they've only got 4 games left. LSU at home, Eastern Illinois at home, Auburn on the road. Let's say Oklahoma wins out. Yeah, I mean that's where it gets a little dicey. But I do think yeah, you got to circle Georgia, Texas is an elimination game, certainly for Texas. Feels like to me.
With what you just detailed, it's hard to see a path for any 3-loss team, even in the SEC.
Yep.
Getting to the league, getting into the playoff.
Yep. I mean, and you could have, gosh, you could conceivably have how many teams with 2 losses or fewer? A&M could do it. Alabama could do it. Oklahoma could do it, but only by beating Alabama, Missouri, LSU. That seems like to bite off with Alabama on the road there. We talked about Georgia. Georgia's got Texas, Georgia Tech, Charlotte, and Mississippi State. We talked about Ole Miss. Vanderbilt's got Kentucky, Tennessee, and Auburn. Got to win out, and maybe you've got a shot. But that's feeling like 10-2 Vanderbilt might not be in.
No. But that was another takeaway. The depth of the rankings of where Missouri and Vanderbilt were make this not only a tough climb, but a climb that's going to need help.
Yeah. Here's what you're rooting for if you want a 5th bid and you're the SEC. You want like crazy somebody beat Notre Dame. In order a chance they got to do it, I would rank that overwhelmingly Pitt. Then I would go Navy. Then I would go probably Stanford on the road just because you're traveling, and then Syracuse at home. Pitt on the road could get them, but I wouldn't count on it.
No, I wouldn't either. I actually think Notre Dame is this was a great day for every Catholic. I mean, this is like Good Friday for every Catholic.
Yeah,
They are amazingly pleased on this day.
Absolutely. Here's what I think you want in the Big 12 if you want to see another SEC get in scenario. I think what you want to have happen this weekend, gosh, because I don't know that Texas Tech, another loss. Well, I mean, I don't know. BYU beating Texas Tech could knock Texas Tech out of it because beating Central Florida, bye week, West Virginia on the road is what's left. That doesn't really impress anybody. The wins early in the season were kind of underwhelming, but did get a win over Utah. And remember, Utah's sitting there at 13. Utah's got to go Arizona State at home. No, I'm sorry. They've already played them. Utah's going at Baylor, Kansas State at home, Kansas on the road. I mean, what you want is Utah to take another loss. And probably your most realistic path for a one-bid Big 12 is for Texas Tech to beat BYU at home this weekend and then BYU to drop one against TCU at Cincinnati, Central Florida, which is entirely possible. But then you could have maybe a rematch Utah and Texas Tech in the title game. Utah won, I think that won earlier. No, Texas Tech won it. So Texas Tech wins the rematch and that happens. Then you're looking at one Big 12 team. I think that's what you want. I think you want BYU out of this and you want Texas Tech and Utah in the title game with Tech winning it. Then that's one Big 12 team, I think. And then you get another one if you're the SEC.
Which is more plausible, even though you lost me about
sorry, that had to be impossible to follow.
But that's more plausible than rooting for a Notre Dame loss because Notre Dame's going to be a heavy favorite in every game. And a 10-2, the committee just showed us tonight what I said early on in our show. Where Notre Dame ranks is the most important conversation piece of these rankings. And if Notre Dame wins out, they're in. And then you're now looking at 4 conference champions, a group of 5 team, and then Notre Dame. So everybody else is fighting for 6 bids.
Yeah, Ryan's right. Pitt has been hot lately, and they have pulled some upsets. I mean, we just laid it out like it's simple. It's not going to play out like that. It never does.
No, it doesn't. But these are the rankings we know.
Yeah.
So, playing off the rankings we know, I think it is clear to me the Big Ten non-champions and the SEC non-champions are jockeying for position for 6 bids.
I wonder if Pitt can get to the ACC title game. That's another thing I didn't think about.
Yeah, but Pat Narduzzi's an ass. So
no, Pitt's lost 2 in the ACC, so forget that. All right, let's conspiracy theory this, okay? No, Pitt stays in the top 25, then Notre Dame has another win over a top 25 college football playoff team. You follow?
Okay.
Because I don't see a path for Pitt to get in this thing.
No, God, no. I mean, really, anybody beyond 15 or 16, with the exception of maybe, and I don't remember the number they were ranked, Georgia Tech has an opportunity to be an at-large team because they can beat Georgia.
Yeah.
A whole lot of these other teams don't have a check mark game from 15 to 25 where they can say, okay, are you going to take that team over us, even though we just beat them on the field in the last month of the season?
Path for Missouri. That's something I hadn't thought about. Missouri is what, 22? Missouri's remaining games are going to be A&M, Mississippi. I'm sorry, they've already. Okay, let's looking at the wrong thing here. Okay, no, I was looking at the right thing. A&M this weekend, home. Mississippi State next weekend, home. At Oklahoma, at Arkansas. Pitt goes 10, or Missouri goes 10-2 with the win over A&M. I think there's a shot, but you're praying like crazy. Vanderbilt takes a loss somewhere, or you're not in. I mean, there's a path, but it's a slim one.
I think Slim just left the building. I mean, I think he picked up his guitar and just walked out. I mean, because you're talking about it in terms of projections of the rankings. Missouri is now 8th in terms of SEC teams, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to have a whole lot of help.
And Tennessee is 9th. Which hey, that bolsters the SEC's argument. Hey, we got 9 of your teams in the top 25. That does make it easier to value a win a little more if you want to make a case for an SEC team.
Every SEC also ran, including my Auburn Tigers, need to root for the top 4 or 5 to win out whenever they can, because that means more money to your school.
Yeah. But I mean, I think one of my takeaways is you do have 2-loss SEC teams that might not get in.
But you
kind of know who they are.
Within the last week, you and I have conversations about how you think a 3-loss SEC team.
I know. I know. And hey, you got 2-loss SEC teams ranked pretty highly. Oklahoma at 12 and Texas at 11.
And there's no way either of those with 3 losses gets in.
Feels pretty unlikely.
It is a race to 10-2 is what we have.
And then hope stuff goes right elsewhere in some cases.
Yeah, especially this year.
Yeah. So yeah, here's what I think we're seeing is going to happen. I think you're going to get Notre Dame's going to get a bid. Group of 5 is going to get a bid. That's 2. ACC, I think, is looking at 1. I think the Big 12 is going to get 2. So that's 5. Big 10 is going to get 3, it appears. And then SEC is looking at 4. Now, here's what you want if you want to get the Big 10 to 2, leaving another one for the SEC. You have Iowa beat Oregon this week and then trip up at Southern Cal. That would be a 3rd loss. Or at Nebraska. Could also happen there. Then Southern Cal becomes an issue. But hey, if Oregon beats them next week, they're out. So, I mean, there is. I don't know. It seems like Big Ten's going to be 3. And I can't imagine. Could you imagine the screaming if the Big Ten got 2?
Well, screaming on so many levels, including the conversations about the expansion and the guaranteed number of bids that the Big Ten and the SEC were reportedly having about when it goes to a bigger number, we get at least this number of teams. And look, I don't think any of those teams beat Oregon. So I mean, I don't want to put the cart before
That's
the
in
horse.
Iowa this weekend, and it's going to be cold and maybe wet. Of course, Oregon's used to wet, but maybe not Iowa cold.
You realize Oregon is more north than Iowa, right?
Hey, I've been to Oregon's campus a few times. Yeah, I've been there. It's just more. It's rainy and cool. It's not like snowstorm cold that I remember.
All right. Well,
It's cold. It's cool and damp, but it's not Iowa in the dead of winter.
All right. Then I'll go back to football analysis. Iowa stinks. I mean, that football team is impossibly mediocre.
Iowa?
Yes.
Oh, offensively for sure. Yeah.
So, I mean, hey, it's an interesting list. It's more meaningful than the lists we discussed in August when we were all starving for college football, but it's almost as meaningless. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because we've got so many pieces on the chessboard in front of us.
You like this? Iowa's the Auburn of the Big 12.
Well, I wish Auburn won as much as they did, Trey. I mean, sweet Jesus.
Do you think BYU and Utah is better than Missouri? I think it's close. I think they're two really good teams. I mean, Utah's got a big upside. So does Missouri. I don't know what to do with Missouri without the quarterback. We're about to find out. Tennessee, I don't know if they play enough defense. That's the issue there. But any other takeaways from tonight?
I think Notre Dame's a big winner.
For sure. Jeremy says, don't see why Alabama's at 1 or 2. Hey, look, list of wins, Alabama's are as good or better than anybody's. I mean, Alabama's beaten Georgia on the road, Vandy home, Missouri on the road, Tennessee home. Nobody's got 4 better than that. Now, the Florida State loss, has gone from, hey, that's not so bad. They might be in the playoff to, go to a mediocre bowl.
Depth? Are you looking for depth on a resume, or are you looking for the top line item? Because maybe Alabama has the most depth on their resume, even with a loss. But the line item of Indiana going to Oregon and smacking them around, and Oregon's 5 or 6 by every metric, then look, I would have voted. I said it at the beginning of the show. I would have voted Indiana 1.
I think to answer your question, I think they split it pretty evenly. I don't see a pattern here other than, again, if you had 2 teams right next to each other, the team that won head-to-head always got slotted 1 ahead. I think BYU got rewarded for depth of resume. I think Ole Miss did, but then you saw teams like Alabama and Georgia that had, pretty significant wins that were up there, and then A&M that had both of them.
Well, I agree with that, but I've now been distracted because Bulldog has now entered the chat.
Oh, nice.
And she wants to speak. Don't say go dogs. Don't say go dogs. Don't say go dogs. Well, look, man, this is the first lily pad, right? And we're going to hop down it every week for the next month, wondering what matters to a committee that we don't know what matters to the committee. So that conversation will forever change.
Yeah. By the way, give you your flowers. You called it a while ago. 2 loss Notre Dame would get in.
Yes.
I wasn't so sure, but you nailed it. Still work to do, but the path got laid out right away. All right. We've got more stuff coming up, previews of games this week. We actually previewed Iowa and Oregon. That'll be coming up either today or tomorrow. We did Texas Tech and BYU. We're starting to do some non-SEC games to kind of let you know what to look for as you follow your team's path to the playoff. Basketball coverage underway. I'll hop back into that soon enough in the coming weeks. And we'll have got some baseball stuff coming too soon enough. So anyway, Jay, this was fun. Excited to do this with you. Excited to see what happens every week between now and the end of the season as they march towards the college football playoff.
Amen.
On the way out, thank you to a few people. We thanked our friends at the Yearly Company yet? I don't think we have, Jay.
I don't
know. Yeah. Thank you to those guys. Yearly Company. Hey, Christmas is upon us. They are a Nashville-based fine jewelry brand built upon tradition and designed for meeting, each piece handicrafted from solid 14-karat gold natural gemstones made to measure for a perfect fit, backed by a lifetime guarantee. Every Yearly Company bangle is custom size. Knowing your size is the most important first step before ordering. That's where the sizing kit comes in. Code SE16KIT takes 100% off your sizing kit at checkout. Also brought to you by ROKFORM, the world's strongest magnetic phone case. Extreme protection, super strong magnets, rock lock secure mounting. SEC25 gets you 25% off your entire order at rockform.com. Get the phone case, the vent clip, and thank me for it later. All right. For Jay Greeson, I'm Chris Lee. God bless you. Have a good night. You've been watching Southeastern 16, presented by FanDuel.